In this video, we're going to cover a few things that I've learned while messing around with the F-15, as well as make some corrections to other things that I've reported in the past. Alright, so we've got the engine started and we want to get the alignment process going. Now, according to Natso, when I spoke to him, the brake hold doesn't actually have to be on in the real world. However, that does seem to be the case, at least in the current version of the F-15 for DCS. So we're going to turn the brake hold on, and then we're going to rotate our switch to GC align, and it brings up the screen, and they should be the same numbers that are in your knee board. I'm going to go ahead and tap that. Up here, we're going to see GC no taxi, and then after a time, that should change, and we'll get that countdown going until we get the GC OK. Now, it's important during this process that we do not move the aircraft in any way, and in fact, realistically, you don't want to even move any of the controls, so take your feet off the pedals and just allow the alignment process to continue. Okay, once we have that GC OK message, we can go down here and turn this to nav, and the aircraft is aligned. All right, some people have talked about how on the air-to-ground page, they just have some numbers underneath here. That's because you haven't programmed what sort of weapon systems you've put on the aircraft. The aircraft doesn't know. So if you cold start or hot start an aircraft and you don't have any munitions on board and you start loading them, you're going to have to go through a separate process. So we're going to go back to the main armament page here, and we're going to go to air-to-ground load, and we're going to find whatever type of bomb we have on these stations. So it knows it has 6 of something. It just doesn't know what it is. It's waiting on you to tell it. So I put some CBU 87s on there. So I'm going to click CBU 87. I'm going to put it there, and now we should be ready to go. Okay, if we want to set a target in the mission editor, all we have to do is create our waypoints as normal, and we'll say that waypoint 2 is going to be our target, and all we're going to do is put in hashtag T, and it should show up as our target when we load in. And targets are indicated by a triangle on your TSD. Alright, so if you've started the aircraft, you may have noticed that you can't get out of the parking area because you've got wheel chocks on. And then you may have noticed that you call the ground crew and tell them to remove the wheel chocks.
Remove the wheel chocks.
And nothing happens. So what you need to do is come over here to the mic switch, make sure that that is active. Then you can bring up your intercom and call the ground crew.
Chief, remove the wheel chocks. Copy. Wheel chocks are now removed.
On your upfront display, if you hit data, you can actually turn on the radar altimeter and turn on either true airspeed or ground speed. I like to have ground speed, but either way it indicates right here. Alright guys, so one mistake I made in a previous video that was brought to my attention is for the multiples. If we choose quantity of 2, that's basically saying how many are going to come off of each of the selected pylons or rails. So in this case, I had quantity 2, so we should drop 4 bombs. Alright, so I've seen this question quite a few times. Let's say that I've got a target point designated, but I want to get rid of it for whatever reason. All I'm going to do is use the boat switch. It's located on my throttle, and I'm just going to hit the boat switch aft. We can see that the bomb drop line is taking me back to my previous designation point, and we've got that little stick right there, that little line that's guiding us back to our target, so we know that we have one. I'm going to hit the boat switch aft, and now it disappears. And our little waypoint carrot stick is now going to our selected waypoint versus the target that we just had designated. Alright, another question is how do we bring up our gun Pipper for air to ground? So right now we are in master arm. We've got air to ground selected. I've got the HUD in command. If you don't know how to do that, you use the castle switch, and you're going to push it like a button inward, the Z-axis. You're going to press, and then you're going to tap it forward. And that's going to give you that in command cue. And now what we got to do, of course, is make sure that we don't have any bombs selected. So we're going to go ahead and just get rid of all the bombs. And the last thing we're going to do is use that auto acquisition switch. We're going to tap it to the aft. And then we've got our gun Pipper. We can see there it says gun. And now we can go ahead and engage targets on the ground with our gun. All right, one thing I've seen people talk about is the laser going from safe to arm and not understanding why they're at safe. Check your altitude. So below 25,000, the laser, as long as you've got it armed in the backseat, should be armed. But above 25,000, the laser won't operate. I'm sure it has to do with the range and accuracy. So once we get above 25,000, we should see that turn from armed to safe. And the last thing I've seen is a few people talk about engines flaming out. I've tested this. I've had it happen to me once before, and I kind of figured I knew what I was doing, so I tested this a couple times. And yeah, it has to do with negative G. So if you get this thing into a negative G situation and you hold it there for, by my count, about 10 to 12 seconds, then you will have an engine flame out. Anyhow, guys, I hope these couple little tips and tricks are helpful and fixing up some things that we've talked about in the past. Hope you guys are enjoying the Strike Eagle as much as I am, and we'll talk to you later. Take it easy.